Hello! I'm going to show you Enrico Dandolo, or Venice. I will tell you about the victory conditions I'd recommend if you were to play as him. I'll also show you the two unique units, the Merchant of Venice alongside the Great Galius, and alongside the social policies I'd recommend if you were to play as Venice. And there's quite a few. So, the number one thing I'd recommend is cultural. I mean, money buys, you're going to make tons of money. You're going to want to buy tourism later on. It's pretty much what you're going to use culture for in this expansion pack. And you obviously want to keep some city-states puppeted because it'll generate lots of culture for your key social policies. Highly recommend culture as your victory condition. I know in the earlier difficulty you can get away with not really doing culture or diplomacy. But even at the earlier stages of difficulty, you could do this and do fairly well. As you ramp up on difficulty, you're almost forced to do culture and diplomacy. That's not always the case, but science and domination is definitely a little bit more difficult to do if you play on a higher difficulty outside of like king or anything lower. So, I will also explain the Serenissima, which he gets, which means he cannot gain settlers nor annex cities. You'll get double the normal number of trade routes available. A Merchant of Venice appears after researching optics and may purchase in puppeted cities. So what essentially does that mean? You're a one-city wonder throughout the entire game. You will be able to get extra cities, but they were puppeted. You will not actually be able to control them, which has its ups and downs. Which one of them being you don't have to deal with the extreme unhappiness that you'll get, but you will get some unhappiness. But the benefit is that you will be able to buy buildings in the puppeted cities that you conquer, or buy, or whichever method of domination you prefer. So, and now I will continue on with the victory conditions I'd recommend. Secondly would be diplomatic. I mean, again, money buys. You can buy your allies, you can buy the buildings in the city-states that you control, the units, and all of the like. If you do go down to diplomatic victory, I would definitely choose Patronage for additional city-state allied statuses. Also for diplomacy, I would recommend to buy out certain certain city-states that are friendly with your enemies or people that absolutely hate in terms of AI. So let's say, for instance, Greek is hated by everybody, and they have tons of city-state allies, and they have tons of delegates. What I would do, either buy their loyalty, and at that point you will be able to have the city-state yourself. Now Greece will be angry at you, and Greece may try to attack you, but you don't need to worry too much. And the only reason why you don't need to worry too much is because if the whole world hates him, you will have the upper hand, because you can make somebody attack him with you or just without you, so it will make things a lot easier. So I highly recommend a diplomatic victory, because you have the opportunity to have probably the most delegates you could possibly have, especially if you pair up Patronage, like I said, with Venice. So third would be science. Patronage will grant you a 25% science output of city-states, allowing competition with AIs. Now again, later on higher difficulties, this may be a little bit more challenging to do a scientific victory, but I would recommend it. I mean, it's very possible, especially on lower difficulties. It's very almost easy, especially if you have all the city-states as your friends and you pick and choose which ones aren't doing so well to add into your empire, to buy their buildings, to, you know, ramp them up, make them a little bit better than what they would be if they weren't puppeted by yourself. But I would leave some alone just to leech off of what they give you, and not to buy everything, because buying every single city-state doesn't actually help you. But buying the ones that you absolutely need and is a benefit to you is something that you should do. And lastly, domination. Now, Venice does have a difficulty with domination, just because you're just going to have puppeted city-states. You're only going to have one city. You will be able to buy armies, though. You can buy militaristic city-state alliances for extra support in case you are fighting somebody, so that way they can come fight with you. And then remember to only take the capital for max effect if you are going a domination route. So just try to find somebody to attack another AI with you, and then try to focus on that capital, take the capital over, and just like any other domination type victory, just try to pick off the capital and you kind of are set to go for Venice in a domination victory. So I would recommend that. So that leaves, I would recommend anything with Venice. I mean, Venice is really a unique civilization, and it's something that you can win with anything, which makes it very nice to play. It does, I mean, add a unique flavor to it as far as only having one true city that you control, and the rest you don't actually fully control. So I wouldn't recommend playing this one the first game that you ever play in Civilization, but I mean, you can do whichever you want. So now I will show you the Merchant of Venice alongside the Great Galius. So the Merchant of Venice is free, has movement of 2, and he has trade mission bonus. Basically means that he has a way higher bonus when he conducts a trade mission. You will get tons more gold than you would if you were to use a Great Merchant. So just to show you, you'll get 100% more gold and 100% more city-state influence than a normal trade mission. So you will get that city-state to love you like no other, plus they will be giving you tons and tons of gold. So now I'll show you the Great Galius. It will cost you 110 production. It's a naval ranged unit. Its combat is 18. Its range combat will be 20. Its range is 2. Its movement is 3. And it cannot enter deep ocean. And that is obvious because this is an early game unit. So obviously you can't go into the deep ocean just yet. But nonetheless, this is very helpful if you are on the coast, which I would highly recommend if you were to be playing as Venice, to find a coast to settle your city on for extra trade routes. It's a very good idea. So this will defend your city alongside, if you are looking in terms of a domination victory, this can get you a couple cities early on, whether it be city-states or just AI players. So now I will show you the social policies I'd recommend if you were to play Venice. Before I show you the social policies of Venice, I will show you his start bias. Now this is a fairly good indication of what you'll expect. You normally will be on the coast. You'll see some mountains, you'll be in grassland, you'll be near hills, alongside some forests. You won't really see too much of desert. Sometimes you will. You will see plains from time to time. You won't see tundra that much. Sometimes again you will. Now I will show you the social policies. Now for Venice there is going to be quite a few, so do bear with me, because considering he can win almost in any kind of victory, I will go over those that represent certain victories. So I would recommend Patronage for those looking for a diplomatic victory. And why Patronage? Well, you'll get more great people, some extra science. You'll get 20 out of 30 influence starting with any city-state, which is huge. You'll get more happiness through luxury resources along with that as well, through cultural diplomacy. You'll get merchant confederacy, which isn't really that fantastic, but it does get you extra gold trade routes with city-states. And then again, you'll get that science, and throughout it all, you will make the city-states degrade 25% slower than normal, and it will help you tons. So if you are looking to stay small, tradition will be your choice. If you are looking for a cultural victory, and any victory really, I mean, you're always going to want to pick tradition, because you are going to have one city, and your puppeted cities will be just puppeted cities, and you won't get those until later, or at least in most cases you won't get those until later. So it will help you producing wonders. You'll get extra happiness for every 10 citizens. You'll get a cultural building in your first 4 cities, really your one city. You'll get some extra defense out of it. You'll get more happiness for the amount of people that you have in your city, alongside extra food, and then overall you will get some extra food throughout your whole entire empire of city-states, or just your one city that you do have. Now again, with this, since this is pertaining to a cultural victory, I want to add this in. You'll want aesthetics as well. It will improve the civilizations to generate cultural. You'll get monuments, amphitheaters, opera houses, things that will generate you culture 50% faster. You get 50% of excess happiness added to each turn to the amount of culture that may be spent on social policies, meaning more happiness, more culture you get to spend on policies. You'll get free great artists, which can fill up a slot in terms of tourism. Your culture is increased by 33% in all cities which have a world wonder, and you get into a golden age automatically, which is very helpful. And then it also reduces the culture cost of future policies by 10%. So if you do need to pick up a couple more policies right away, this will help you out tons. So adopting all policies doubles the theming bonus you receive from museums and wonders. It also the pursuits of great writers, artists, and musicians with faith, which really does help, because if you do have a faith, you have a lot of faith accumulated, you can buy those great artists, writers, anybody that you need to fill up your extra slots. And then lastly, commerce provides bonuses to empires focused on gold. This you pretty much always want as well. This will help in a scientific, domination, any type of victory. I mean, you're going to get +2 gold from all your land trade routes. You're going to need to always have those. Maintenance on roads and railroads reduced by 50%. That's not as important because you really won't have too many of those, or at least normally you won't. You'll get some extra science out of gold producing buildings, plus purchasing items in cities requires 25% less gold. That means you are able to buy even more things for a cheaper cost. Very important. Great merchants are 25% faster, aka great merchants of Venice are earned faster, so you're always going to want that. And then +2 happiness from each luxury resources, meaning that you're always going to be happy. Commerce is probably the biggest, most important social policy you're going to want to choose, because this is all about Venice. Out of them all, you're going to want commerce. The other ones that I have mentioned are more situational to what playstyle you're going into the game playing as Venice. So, sorry for the really long guide here. Please rate, subscribe, and comment. I sure hope you liked this video. If you have, checked out some of my other videos, and I'll catch you later.